Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Blade. I'm the owner of Indian River News. I'm here today with Mom Celebrity Indian River Florida Chairman Jennifer Pippin and Indian River County School Board Member District 2 Jackie Rosario. What we're going to be doing this morning is a recap of last night's school board meeting and superintendent's workshop, which occurred before the meeting yesterday. So, Jackie, what are the big highlights from yesterday that you find that would be important for people to know here in Indian River County?
Well, I think first and foremost are the two policies that the board approved for public comment, it's not actually approved yet in terms of being an actual policy, but we'll wait 30 days, and in 30 days they will be in full effect. They are the two library policies, one on the selection and adoption of instructional materials, state adopted instructional materials, and library books, reading lists, classroom library materials. And then the second one is the objection to all of those. Both policies were incredibly needed. One was already approved in August, but needed to be updated because some new rules from the DOE were approved, and the new training for the library media center specialist was also just released. And based on the new information that we received, we had to update that policy accordingly. But both policies now work well together. They're hands in hand. One is the selection, one is the opportunity for parents or residents of the county to object to those items. And I think it's a fair process right now, and I'm excited about that. So that's one of the big ones.
Yeah, and that's required by state law to have all this in place, correct?
I'm sorry?
That's required by state law to have all this in place regarding the book review, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the state created a law, new law. There was a statute that was passed on transparency and allowing for these processes to take place, and requiring school districts to adopt policy that allow parents and residents to object to instructional materials. It also kind of streamlined, gave us direction on how to streamline the selection of these products, and how library and media center specialists are to weed the books out that they have currently in the libraries. So that process really wasn't kind of clear before, and a lot of books that remained on the shelves kind of remained there dormant and not being circulated, or they're old, outdated. And obviously we've had some problems with some books being inappropriate, having sexual content, being pornographic in nature, having pictures, or I don't want to say videos, but pictures that are extremely inappropriate, not age appropriate, not grade appropriate. Certainly they do not follow our standards. And so the DOE and our state legislatures created rules and statutes that kind of tell school districts, you got to get this right. And I think we are one of the first districts who are probably on the cusp of getting it right. So I'm excited. Yesterday was a good thing. Board members unanimously approved for public comment the both policies. And I know we have Jennifer on the video call, and when you're ready to get there, Jennifer can certainly chime in on the process of how that training began.
Yeah, if you can elaborate more on that, Jennifer, because I know you're on a committee with the state of Florida regarding the book situation. If you'd like to talk more in detail about that.
Sure. So our committee through the Department of Education was put together to be in compliance for House Bill 1467, which is the Parents' Rights in Education bill. And we've been working the past few months, and our training got approved through the Department of Education. Last week got approved through the State Board of Education, and is now pushed out through the state to all school districts, and it affects millions of children. So that's what Jackie was speaking on, that now all school districts, all 67 school districts, have to create a policy and procedure to be able to have those challenges, to be able to weed through these books. And for example, in Indian River County, some libraries haven't been weeded which means going through the libraries in 20 plus years. They had Encyclopedia Britannicas from the 80s. So a lot of this information is null and void, and it's not valid for research and for children to, go into the libraries. And things such as, Pluto no longer being a planet, those documents need to be weeded. I know it's kind of funny, but that's what the librarians use as an example in our meeting in Tallahassee when we met on this. Also, any other changes with, they're no longer teaching Common Core. So if there's Common Core library books, those need to be weeded out. And there are a lot of districts in the state of Florida that do the weeding process, which is why through our training, it's recommended 3 to 5 years you weed out, which is, go through your books. So, the first year they would do like maybe nonfiction. The next year they would go through their fiction and, make a constant effort to, take out the books that children are not reading and then replace them now with books that they would read, in those certain categories in the Dewey Decimal System. I've learned so much. But it's important because a lot of these libraries are not being used and children are not checking out books. For another example, Vero Beach High School last year, only 100 books were checked out and there's 3,000 plus students. So in libraries across the state, public school libraries that are not being utilized, hopefully after this training and weeding out these books and getting out, like Jackie said, the pornographic, the critical race theory, all the theory books, that are now tied to statute that are not appropriate for children will be weeded out.
Now, here's my question regarding the weeding of the books, right? What is the current policy for the school district of Indian River County with regards to weedings? It sounds like we haven't, at least from what I'm understanding, we haven't really done that here in the school district, or there's a possibility that policy may not exist or may not be actually used.
Yes, to my knowledge, in meeting with district staff, they do not currently have a weeding policy. They're supposed to review their library materials, and the superintendent, Dr. Moore, said that since 2014, these things haven't been done as far as even vetting materials. So Indian River, unfortunately, is behind in this. There are certain districts in the state that are doing that, and they are weeding, and they have been, so if they remove, 5 to 10 fiction books, for example, they're looking at the top 100 list books, or, looking at the Scholastic or Follett, lists, and then replacing those books with books that children, may come to read in their libraries. There are some districts in the state that have a box of recommendations that, books that kids want that are not in the libraries, books that parents want that are not in the libraries. So here in Indian River, I'm hoping that we do something like that, and start getting parents, grandparents, community members, children more involved, maybe in the process of purchasing new materials or getting new materials donated. But this is a good first start after this meeting and superintendent workshop yesterday.
I definitely agree. And one thing I would like to add is I'm a younger person. For reference reviewers, I'm 24, almost 25 years old, put me in the older end of Generation Z. And my generation, we're going to have some unique challenges, especially going into the workplace. I had to literally start my own company, part A, to keep myself in politics, but also to be able to give myself a way to support myself. And I would say that one of the things I think that would be really helpful is, and I have 3 of the books at home on web coding. If we can get books in the libraries on coding, on like different coding languages, and because like some of the programs I use are written with C++, I had to learn HTML, CSS, some PHP, for putting my website together, because I literally pretty much assembled Indian River News, the website itself. So if we could put books in the libraries that help teach concepts about how to actually go out and do things that kids can actually use literally to survive, or things to better themselves, like copies of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think that would make a massive difference in the lives of many children in this school district.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree. And I think that re-envisioning what our libraries and media centers look like moving forward is probably going to be the next big task. We've already identified, as Jennifer said, at the district level, that these libraries are not being utilized. Certainly, they're more utilized at the elementary level than they are at the secondary level. And I would even venture to say they're almost dismal at the secondary in the high school level. But re-envisioning what that space looks like, a space where kids can come in and they can do their homework, or they can get on the computer, or there are iPad stations. Like in my mind, there's a 3D printer station. There's another station where kids can actually possibly do hands-on, getting sections of books, as you mentioned, Ryan, that are focused on vocational and technical areas so that kids have opportunities to look into some of the career options that are out there. All of these are different ways, of re-envisioning the space. Um, that is a huge undertaking. That's a huge task to look into the future for. But I'm excited about that opportunity because it needs to change. We're no longer the same old library that we were, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, and even in 2000. It's not the same. Time has changed. Times have changed. Books are special. They open up the doors of opportunity for so many kids. They are a way of escape for many others, and they are an avenue for learning. And so it's critical for us to begin to have that conversation moving forward. But I think first things first, before we get there, we definitely have to, weed what we have now, start from scratch, and make sure that the books that are on the shelves remain free of pornography, remain free of anything that is not age appropriate or grade level appropriate, that's not standards aligned with our standards, and that are not harmful to minors, which is, we've also got to work with our legislatures to kind of get some of the language in our state statutes changed, because there seems to be some loopholes in interpretation. But we can get there. Right now, we're in a good place. We're moving forward, and I think it's certainly better than what we had a year ago. So I'm glad where we are right now.
Yeah, I think we're heading into a really good place with the books, and some follow-up questions to this guy. I'm gonna put a couple questions together, this way the conversation, flows accordingly to where I think it needs to go to get information out. So with regards to academic achievement, right? I'm glad to see that our graduation rate has increased. What actions did the district take to allow that jump from, what was it, like 89% to 95%, the graduation rate jumped according to Dr. Moore's presentation?
Yeah, but there was something that wasn't shared. I don't know if he shared it exactly the way that I know it to be. There was a requirement that actually lifted the number of, I'm going to say, the number of graduates, or what would have been the graduation rate. And we as a district, we actually asked for a waiver because of the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, and moving into where we were at the time, which was last year. Asking for that waiver was critical, because if we didn't ask for the waiver, our scores would have been less in terms of graduation rate. So having that waiver, it's one of the items that we discussed for our legislative platform moving forward. But that said, there have been a lot of effort. There's a lot of effort on the part of the school and the guidance counselors, and the graduation team, the social workers, and everybody else who works with students to help get them graduate, help them stay on track and become successful, so that they can enter into our society and begin working or go to school and start their future. So it has been an effort. Interesting thing is, because those numbers just came out, I'm not quite sure how other districts have done. So it's hard to be able to compare in that sense. So I'm not sure that would be a good level of or something to discuss right now, because those numbers haven't been compared. But where we are in terms of the Florida state, I mean, we certainly are in a much better place, and we are certainly higher ranking than many others.
Yeah, and it's great to see that we are doing a lot better than a lot of the other schools in the state. And from what I'm understanding, overall, the we could be doing a lot better across the state. And I think the school district has a real big potential to hit number one. But I think we'll be monopolizing that for some time because if we literally just keep improving more and more of getting more and more kids at comprehension level and beyond that, I think we'll be probably sitting at the top school for for quite a long time if we really do that. So I think it's something that we could definitely look at. But I saw something though with the 30% in math scores with
Yeah,
algebra and geometry. What was that about?
we've got a lot of work. We've got a lot of work. It was pretty shocking to see those numbers. There was the other caveat that I wanted to mention. We always want to put our best foot forward and kind of, let the community know that we're on the right track. But the numbers are the numbers, and they can't be fudged. We are graduating our kids at higher rates, but our grades are not where they need to be. We have a lot of improvement overall. You can see from the numbers that were shared yesterday, there's probably, about between 30 and 50% averages on much of these scores across the board, from ELA, to math, to civics. Even I think civics was in the 60s. And then, the geometry, the US history. I mean, some of those are very, very low. And so they're just unacceptable. But again, I need to be hopeful. We need to be hopeful. We need to look for the future. I mentioned this yesterday at the board meeting. The superintendent only came on, I think he's going on it's about 3 years now, maybe a little bit more. He came in, I know that I believe that he can turn this district around. The numbers are not too far off from where they were when he joined us. We have improved. There have been improvements. Let me say that. But we did have, some pandemic time, which did interrupt. Certainly not the way that many others in the rest of the nation have had. But we still had some interruption. And turning a district around often takes many years. For some schools to turn around, it takes up to 5 years. So imagine an entire district. You're talking about changing culture, changing dynamic, changing mindset, sometimes changing, and faculty and staff. You got to change, the trajectory, the vision, the mission. All of that stuff kind of needs to work together in order for an entire district to turn around. So I'm hopeful that we're going to get there. We're just not there now.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'm wondering is what can the community, whether you're just a parent, Moms for Liberty, or someone that might not be politically aligned with Moms for Liberty, or you're just someone that just wants to help out. Because I will, by the way, say for the viewers that whether we like it or not, schools have gotten to be, unfortunately, it should not be like this at all. Schools should be a nonpartisan zone. But the fact that I'm just going to say it for what it is, the American left made this political. And now, unfortunately, the more sensible people on the right, which is varying degrees of right wing, if you look at the actual grand spectrum of political leanings, are now having to say, hey, let's actually get back to educating our kids, no more ideology. What I'm wondering, Jackie, what can people in the community do to help out with getting the grades up to where not grades, the word I'm looking for is comprehension, right? It's where where the kids can comprehend the subject material at hand. What can the community do to help so that's where we can get these kids learning more, succeeding more, and ultimately get those scores up? What can the community do to help with that?
Well, I think, mentoring and tutoring is certainly one of those areas. If there's ever an opportunity for someone to volunteer, even at their local school, in any way, to mentor and to tutor some of the kids that are probably in the lower 25 percentile, even those who are, higher functioning students, who are not in the lowest quartile, they still need help every now and then too. So certainly that's one of the opportunities. I would say another opportunity is for the community to support their local school, wherever their school is, in their area. You can certainly go beyond your zoned, wherever you live, your residents. But support your teachers, support your school, go in, have a meeting with the principal, the assistant principal. If you're a parent, the number one way that you can impact academic success is by getting into the classroom where your child is and offering any support that you can whatsoever in that classroom. If you're in elementary school, I mean, actually, all grades have their challenges, but in elementary school, there are sometimes the little art projects, and teachers need help with little things like cutting and having the glue ready, or having arts and crafts in one particular area ready, or having a parent in the room able to hand out the handouts, whatever that, the paperwork or whatever it is. Sometimes that extra person during that moment makes a huge difference, and instruction doesn't have to get interrupted, which is the main goal. At the secondary level is the same thing. I mentioned yesterday, because at the secondary level, the discipline is out of control in many of our schools, unfortunately. And so that we are in the process, the district is in the process of reviewing, revising, editing our code of conduct. But I mentioned yesterday that there is a school in, and I said the wrong county. I was corrected, and I'm going to say it's North Carolina or South Carolina. I'll find out where it is. And this group of parents, Louisiana school district. This group of parents, there was a fight in the school one day, and the group of dads, it's a group of dads who
Dad's on
actually
duty,
got
right?
together. Yes, that's exactly right. Dads on duty. And they got t-shirts, and they got permission to go into the school, and they have been helping tremendously with the discipline. You have dads that are in the hallway saying, come on guys, let's go to class. You're less likely going to have an outburst of discipline issues when your father or your best friend's father or someone that you have a relationship with is in the hallway. Someone who knows your parent in the local supermarket sees you messing around in the hallways, you're going to straighten up. And that's exactly what happened in this school district, and in this school rather, in Louisiana. So if we can think outside the box, it's one of the things that I mentioned yesterday in terms of how community and parents can get involved in their schools, involve them in our code of conduct process, involve them in the discipline, get parents to help in any way academically, certainly support your kids at home with homework. I've always been of the mindset that if you can teach your parent, which again is another monumental task, what the kid is learning in the classroom, then the parent can be a better support at home. Sometimes I remember, thank God we don't have it, but when Common Core was introduced into our school system, and again, thank God we don't have it anymore, it was a whole new way of thinking of math, and parents were like, what is this? 2 + 2 = 4. There aren't 20 other different ways to say that. And that caused a problem with parents supporting children in the house, at home, with homework. And we're not there now, but sometimes parents are not well versed in a particular subject or an area, and it becomes a challenge to help their kids at home. So there has to be better communication between the school and what is being taught, and how the parents can support their kids at home.
Certainly. And I know we're getting towards the end of our time for the interview for today. I have 3 more questions to ask. Jennifer, if you're able to, as I know you're driving now, how can Moms for Liberty help with the academic issue? I know at least I think one of our members has been retired as teacher, has been tutoring some students. What can Moms for Liberty do to help out with the academic situation, with increasing the academic proficiency here in the county?
Sure. So what we're doing and what we've been doing is being a voice for parents, grandparents, community members. We always ask our members to get involved, and, for our working parents or our single parents, things like that, to, come to the school board meetings, speak to the school board members, come to the after school events like the code of conduct. We had a great turnout of Moms for Liberty members for the code of conduct. We've had members attend the certain committees, across the district for, that can't attend, maybe during the day when their kids are in school, and just keeping that open relationship with the district, with teachers, and supporting their children. I mean, so many parents woke up after COVID and saw what their children were learning, or what they weren't learning. And, they've gotten more involved. And it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole. All of these issues that are coming up may not affect somebody directly, but there may be an issue that comes up this year, next year, the year after, that they will get more involved. And that's what we've seen. If it wasn't COVID, it was the LGBTQ administration guide, it was CRT, it was the library books, so many of these issues that, we don't have control over, but that we find out in the district, gets more people involved. So as far as the academics, many of us are parents and public school parents at that. And, just paying attention and, doing the curriculum review, our vice chairman, Chris Allen, she was a guest reviewer, and she found more problematic things with, the curriculum in the states. Me being on the library book and, curriculum committee, all of these things make a huge difference, not even just in the classroom, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, one suggestion I may have is if we can get more members as well as we get more people involved with Moms for Liberty, I think if we can get more of them tutoring, just more community members in general in the schools tutoring, I think that is something we should really look at, because I think that would be something that would be a huge benefit to the community. So the more people we got involved with the school system that's got quite a large number of kids in it, I think the more resources that will make available for these kids to succeed. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. And I think that whatever anybody can do to help, whether it's big or small, it makes a huge difference, because so many parents and, grandparents can't be involved, like I said, because they work full time or whatever. It'll make a huge difference. So, just get involved however you can, and stay involved and do biggest impact. I mean, we had, medical professionals and, like nurses on the COVID-19 protocols committee. So, where they may not be able to, again, be involved in the classroom, they can be involved in these committees and, district decision committees that will truly make a difference for all kids in the district.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm gonna go ahead and get to our last question because I think we're running a bit low on time. There was a resolution passed about school choice week. Jackie, if you want to touch on that real quick before we end the interview.
Oh, yeah, that was really just long overdue. It is this week is National School Choice Week. And school choice is being celebrated by millions of people nationally this week, but not just in one week. Obviously, it goes beyond, to the day-to-day operations of many of the school districts. Here in Indian River County, we honor and we are celebrating school choice within our individual schools, because every school is a themed school now, and school choice for residents within Indian River County means that you as a parent are not tied to your local zoned school. If you want to send your child of any age to another school outside of your zoned area, you can do that by a school choice option. You can request of the district what school you want to send what school you want to send your child to. And if you request transportation will be provided for you. That has always been an issue of contention, at least in the past, because we would offer school choice, but then we wouldn't help parents get their kids there. So if you were a working parent, you couldn't, get up in the morning if you worked on one side of the county and you wanted to send your child to a school on the other side of the county. It would be virtually impossible for you to drive your kids to school and still make it to work on time. And so, families who had those conflicts really had to make a decision as to whether they needed to work or send the kids to school. And for many of them, they chose work, which I completely understand. But now we have provided transportation as a school choice or with school choice option, so that there is less of a burden on the family, on the average family. So parents can still work and trust that their kid is getting on a school bus and going to the school of their choice to learn the particular, theme in that school that they wanted, whether it be, environmental studies or performing arts or anything else that's out there. So that's really a wonderful opportunity for us also within Indian River County. We honor a choice in terms of magnet schools, virtual schools, which we have within our public school system. And we also have charter schools, which is a public school within the school district of Indian River County. It is not a district operated school. They don't technically report to this board. Myself and the other 4 board members that you saw at on the dais yesterday. Charter schools they function under their own board, but they're still a public school within our district. So we need to recognize all of these options for parents. And at the end, of course, homeschooling. I homeschool my son, and there are many homeschoolers within Indian River County. But the ultimate choice, the real caveat here is not just that choice is offered. It's that parents have the opportunity to make that decision for their child, and that this school district embraces a parent's right to make the fundamental choice in terms of education or in any other aspect for their children. That is the parent's right, and we honor the parent's right to do that. So this proclamation yesterday just kind of captured all of that in one. Our governor last year for the state of Florida, Governor DeSantis, he signed a proclamation last year honoring school choice, also in line with the National School Choice Week then. And so it was just right for us to be able to do that now. So that was a celebration last night.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think this is a good spot to end the interview here. Jackie, Jennifer, thank you very much, both of you, for being here today. And thank you very much to our viewers and the supporters of Indian River News. Without you, this publication would not be possible. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan.
Have a great day, Jackie.
Bye.
Bye.